Welcome to the Getting to Know LXI video series brought to you by the LXI Consortium. Today's video, LXI Conformance Testing, is brought to you by Lynn Wheelwright, a certified LXI Conformance tester for the LXI Consortium.
Put this together to give you both some information about the Conformance Test Suite and some examples. Now, if we go to some of the software pieces, how they relate, the items over here include an Apache web server, the W3 validator, and Perl. That's for validating the web pages. If you're doing in-house testing, you can probably live without the web server and the validator code, but you can't live without Perl. You obviously need a browser. You need VCS Express, Bonjour, .NET 1.1 and .NET 2.0 currently. You need a Visa COM IO package because I wrote something that way, and you need Wireshark. The reason these are all over here separate is these are generally separate installs that work in conjunction with the Conformance Test Suite. They have their own installers and whatnot to go with them. The test suite itself, there's a sequencer, and that's the piece you actually see the most of. Its job is to go through the steps, capture results, give you a place to write comments when something didn't work right, so you can write down hints to the team that developed it so they can have some better idea of what went on and what you saw, or what I saw. There's a set of test templates, which is what controls the sequence. It's an XML document. It has in it most of the rule text. It has in it the instructions to the operator, test operator doing the test, and places and fields to capture results and whatnot, and it has a bunch of control things in it too. There's a set of scripts and other tests. They're not all scripts. Some of them are C# code having to do with these kinds of tests. We use ping, which comes with most operating systems. We have a VXI11 IP discovery piece. We have some things that work with DHCP renewal failures and parameter changes. Check for web things, all the XML identification tests and the MDNS tests. Most of these are scripts. We have some LXI trigger bus tests and some 1588 tests. The 1588 tests are, for the most part, at least the automatic ones, are programmed in C# for our convenience. This is the collection of things that the vendor or the device manufacturer gets to play with to put together the demonstration of the IVLXI sync for their product. So those are the major chunks of stuff. These things all fall in a directory structure that we can go to the next thing. So basically, you pick a directory, you can name it anything you want. You get a zip file, you unzip that zip file in this directory, and it will create two more directories underneath it. One is for the 1588 tests, and one is called dual server, and it contains a DHCP server. That server will also function as a DNS server. I haven't quite configured it to do that in this case, but we may want to do that in the future because we have a couple rules that we could better test if we would put a little time in here and play with that and do that. I recommend that you possibly create a test data directory underneath this directory. You don't have to. You probably want a directory somewhere to put test data in, and this may be a convenient place for you. The other programs, which we talked about before, the validator, which includes Perl and Apache, is the way it's set up. They recommend putting it in C /www. I would recommend you follow their instructions. it makes the installation easier. The installation instructions aren't perfect from them, but you'll have less trouble if you do that. For all of the others, the default installs work nicely. There is a setup script that comes with the conformance test suite. That in fact, there's two of them. You get a choice. If you're not going to use the DHCP server, just run the set path script, and it'll go look all of these things up in the registry and make sure they're in your path, so that the test suite can find them. If you want to use the DHCP server, there's actually a setup script that includes setting the path and does the install on the dual server, and that install is basically installing it as a service. So what the test suite does, it captures data and description of the LXI device being tested. This last piece would allow us to simplify the form that gets filled out, because we capture a lot of the information right there about the device and the manufacturer and the website and all of that versioning information for the one we test. It sequences the test per the LXI test procedure. The tests, optimally, you don't want to run them in rule number order. There are some advantages to skipping around a little bit in some of the areas, particularly in LAN and web and some of the discovery areas. But if you want to, you can do things in order manually. Shows ongoing status as tests are run. I'll show you the windows and some of that in a sec. The has 4 status values for any given test, and it summarizes these values at the chapter and at the top level. Basically, there's a pass, and there's a fail, there's a to-do because we haven't done it yet. When it comes up initially, pretty much everything is marked to-do. And as you work through, it will decide if some things are not applicable and just keep on going and do the other things. Shows the rule being tested, gives you some rule text, it gives you the operating procedure in a window, and it gives you a place to capture the test results. And the normal order of the test is controlled by the test template file. When you save it, you save both the results from the test template file plus the information captured from the LXI device description. And you can then reload those results into the sequencer and continue testing if you want to. If you worked on something, you had some problems, went off and fixed it, and you want to work on 1 or 2 rules, it's pretty straightforward to do it. There is an edit capability provided for updating test templates. This is for the template developers' use, me in particular. But it could be any of the test houses if we so choose to want to do that. There's basically 4 types of tests. There's 3 kinds of tests built into the sequencer. It has to do with operator, these are the simple ones where we don't have to go out and run a program or script, basically. So there's operator observations, which generally requires knowledge and judgment by the operator. Some of them, it's pretty straightforward. Some of them you have to take a little more judgment and need a little more knowledge. But we haven't automated those. There's tests right now that are classed as vendor declarations, and we collect those because that was the appropriate way to do it. And there's tests or rules that rely on other rules. Chapter 2 is particularly that way, and summarize things. The same expression evaluation is how all the results are summarized up to the top level. And then we have external tests that is external to the sequencer. They're test programs. The name of the program is specified in the template file. You can write them in any language you want. There are some protocol methods to get results back into the sequencer. It's listening on a socket for the results. That's how that's done. So it makes it really quite independent from things going on. Okay, knowledge capture. So purpose, basically, one of the reasons we're doing the conformance test suite is try and capture the knowledge within the consortium as part of the instructions to the operator and what to look for. And that turns out to be pretty valuable. We probably haven't done everything exactly right and perfect. I'd be willing to say that's a pretty good probability, but it's a whole lot better than working off the spreadsheet we used to have. And so we provide instructions to the test operator when the test's set up, and instructions on how to determine if the test passes, and a reminder and a place to document the items that don't work, and that's specifically to help the device developers. And it's good to make that reminder for test operators, because sometimes we forget to say, oh yeah, not only did it not work, but we saw this happen. Might give you a clue. We provide some automated test programs where practical. And these are the kinds of things that get run through there. Most of the discovery stuff that's not actually looking at web pages. The DHCP renewal stuff and failure stuff goes through there. We can check for the web server report. We can check for 1588 tests. There may be one or two others that I forgot to put in there, but that's okay. The editor for the test templates. Basically, it lets you, for a chapter summary, you can put in the name of the chapter. There's a logic expression there to say which chapter numbers you care, which paragraph numbers in the chapter feed into the result for this chapter. And obviously there's a chapter number and a chapter title, a logic expression of the rules in the chapter. This top one is a summary of all the chapters, and so that's a logic expression. It just summarizes the results of each chapter. Then for each rule, there's a paragraph number and title. There's the text of the rule, or however we want to describe it. Normally I use the text of the rule because it's really convenient. There's test instructions. There's some rule qualifiers like LXI class, physical type, conformance method, etc., that were based on what was in the standard when the sequencer was first put together. There's test type, where you can put in it's an operator observation or a vendor declaration, or you can write in an expression, or you can write in the command line for the program you want to run to do this test. And there's a couple other minor things. You can put timeouts on tests and things like that too. So when you start the beast up, basically you get a nice little picture like this. On the left-hand side is a place where the rules can be expanded as a tree. So you can go down each chapter and see how it's going on. When it comes up, we haven't told it which version of the standard we're testing to yet. So it doesn't know that yet. This is where the rule text goes. This is where the test procedure instructions show up. This is where you enter comments, current status. This will hold the IP address of the device. That gets loaded two ways. The discovery scripts will load this, or if you want to just start up and do a test, you can type it in. Just type it in and it'll use that thing. You can run a test manually. This is really the manual. I want to run a particular test. So you've selected a test and you hit run. These buttons will show up as appropriate. And whatever the instructions are, if it's an operator observation, you do what it says and check for what it is, and you can click yes or no. You can abort a sequence down here if it's running and you screwed some stuff up and need to go back. Or you can skip a test and come back later to it. And you can click on to the next test in the sequence if you're doing a few things manually. So once you've got this thing open, you want to come up here and click on New, and you will get the next page. You will get the device entry form. Where, who by, the information from the vendor website, firmware versions, where it's done, the IV stuff. You put model number, description. These are all things that we want to have collected for compliance. You can put several model numbers in here if you want to. Theoretically, if you're doing one of a family, you could put the whole family in here and collect the family in one shot if you want to. And you can add and delete the things like that. When you're done, you click Save. And it comes back, and first thing that comes down is the tree's not expanded, but I expanded it here and poked a rule. This is by chapter. This chapter 7 here has been expanded for the land specification. And this is the first, pretty close to the first test that's run. I think it is the first one that's run. Look for a MAC address and gives you some things to do about it. In this case, you have to visually inspect the device for a MAC address label. You may have to ask the vendor's representative where the label resides. Maybe in the manual user interface, if someone actually has a front panel interface, and you may have to go look for it. Normally the vendor knows where that is because they designed the instrument. And if the label or display is found, click the Yes button right down here. Otherwise, record in the test result you didn't find it, maybe where all the places you looked, and click the No button and you go on to the next test. And that's how things work. Now, the recommended start procedure for how I start up tests is this way. You open the program, which we saw back here a page or two. Click on File New, which gives you the ability to describe which version of the standard you want to use and what the device is. Click Save to save that information, which will then load the appropriate test template. And I would recommend click File, Save As to point the template to where you want to save results. And whatever the current directory is, which is dictated or changeable easily by where you save things, is where those results are going to go as part of running the tests. And, this puts the initial device data in the directory along with a bunch of to-do type results, and allows then, as you do the things that use Wireshark, to be captured there in one place. Otherwise, it's going to end up being captured in the top level directory where you put the conformance test suite. And that's okay, just may clutter things up a little bit, make it harder to find the data you want. So in the test menu, just so you know, if you get over there and if you're going down a ways and you found some more information about the Ivy stuff and you want to put it in, you can open the device data screen and add or update information. Maybe you get the actual version numbers from the Skippy IDN, things like that. If you're having an absolute disaster and you want to reset all the test results, you can bang on that one, and that cleans all the status out. You can run the test sequence from start to finish. You can run just the vendor declarations. And so when I'm at a plug fest or when I'm working with a vendor directly in their shop, I always run this first because it gets all of the things out of the way the vendor has to say yes to, and gives them a little more time freedom. They don't have to sit right by my shoulder all the time waiting for one of those to pop up. That's a convenience item I found useful. And you can continue the test sequence, and to do that, if you've started, so when you click this one or this one or this one, then the sequencer begins running. The continue is if you've selected a rule over in the left-hand pane, it will continue from that rule. Otherwise, this one starts at the beginning, and it will run all tests that have a to-do status. So resuming tests, if you've got some interim results that you've saved off somewhere and somebody's gone back to repair something, get the box back and up and running again, do a file open, select the file you saved, and it'll load them up. Then either type in the IP address or run test point 1. test 10.1, which we'll go and do the discovery again and find it. Then select the desired test to run or to continue from if you're going to continue from that. And if you're going to run, just hit run, and that'll run that test. If you want to continue the sequence from that point, just go up and click on the continue test sequence. A couple of things about viewing and printing results. Because the results file is an XML file, I provide a XSL translated file to make them up a little prettier. I give you some color coding on the pass-fail out here. You get paragraph numbers, you get the rule summary title, and you get any interesting results information over here. Sometimes we include results for some tests because they're interesting or we need them for other purposes, like the IDN string will always be included over here whether it passes or fails. Of course, if it fails and you can't get it, well, you don't get the string, you get the fail notice. Ah, yes, in conclusion, there is a help file. If all else fails, read it. The help file is not perfect, but it has installation instructions in it, as well as covering what the menus do. Thank you. Cheers.